Let's take you back to one of our top stories. Of course, news emerging at the weekend through leaked documents that former President Jacob Zuma has been expelled from the ANC. Let's make sense of this. Bring in our guest, Dr Ongama Mtimka, who joins us via our video link. Of course, Dr Mtimka is a political analyst. Great to have you on the SABC News channel, sir. Thanks as always for making time to help us make sense of these issues. And few people will be surprised by this, despite what the MK party's statements have resembled. Nklamulo telling the SABC that they're shocked that this is how the news has come to light. Despite the fact that many people expected it, I'm sure we cannot overstate just how big a moment this is for the ANC to expel a man who was once at the helm of the party for years.
It's very big, Ayanda. In fact, in the tenure of President Cyril Ramaphosa, it's the second time that a powerful politician is removed or expelled from the ANC. First, it was Ace Magashule, who was deposed as a sitting secretary of the ANC. We know that that process followed some legal, it followed a legal trigger, if I can put it that way. This one is purely political, in the sense that, in my view, this is the kind of act that constituted enough grounds for a summary dismissal. But the ANC, mindful of who it is dealing with, has chosen a track to deal with this matter, which is following its constitution. And I think that that is commendable.
Yeah, you know, they always say that, hindsight is, perfect vision. I think I've paraphrased that. But in other words, you can always make a better call when you look back. And it's been interesting to hear a lot of people suggesting that the ANC, in fact, should have moved much quicker on this, given just how much this has cost them, politically speaking. I wonder to what extent you reckon that's a fair kind of expectation from the party.
My view is that, one, the ANC in the electoral politics of the 2024 year, there was no reason for it to act with a lot more urgency than it has. This is an administrative matter. President Zuma removed himself from the ANC, but created enough room for the ANC to stumble by the process in which it was going to formalize his departure. And I think that they delayed acting while its action could be used as ammunition in an election campaign is the right decision. Remember, politicians sometimes do not have the leeway to take decisions which are the best decisions. They take optimal decisions, which means best decisions under the circumstances. While it was acceptable that it was desirable that if they get, a member of theirs who gets to be ill-disciplined, to fire that member summarily, it was not politically beneficial for the ANC to deal with President Zuma in that election mode, where they couldn't determine really what the impact of that outcome was going to be. That he had left the party, he had already left the party and was contesting elections, that was a given. It could aggravate it by its response during that period.
We know he's got 21 odd days, this is the former president, to appeal this particular decision. But you speak about optimal decisions. Would it make sense for the former president to appeal this, politically speaking? In other words, what would he be getting at if he was to do that?
That's also what I cannot come to terms with. But if he just wants to continue to be a battering ram against order and peace in the ANC, then I think President Zuma will, in fact, appeal this decision. But if he wants to move on and consolidate his party and build his party, it makes sense for him to smoke the peace pipe and move on. But I think that President Zuma has never been happy, he will never be happy with just letting the ANC be. The same way that former ANC politicians like Julius Malema, notwithstanding building organizations that are successful by many measures, want to continue to be relevant in the politics of the ANC. So I think that he just might, if we follow vintage Zuma politics, the most likely response is that he's going to challenge this when it has no benefit for him other than continuing to destabilize the ANC and hoping by that action to galvanize some people within the ANC, something he has failed to do so far.
Sure. It's been an interesting past 10 years for the governing party. And, you started off by mentioning that Zuma is just one of two very senior, influential leaders in the organization who've been expelled during the last decade. And I wonder to what extent you reckon what we're now entering is a phase where Cyril Ramaphosa will go about the work of doing whatever he wants to do with the ANC without having detractors. In other words, do the likes of Zuma and Ace Magashule, do you reckon, still have tentacles within the party that might cause other kinds of disturbances in the next few years?
I don't think they have tentacles. Interestingly, Sun Tzu, so for those people who follow strategy, has got various ways in which political opponents, or in fact military opponents in a military campaign, they go about their business. One of them is a circling strategy. That is a strategy employed by a party that doesn't believe that they have enough power to mount a frontal attack against their enemy, but they want to continue to agitate and see how far they can go. If you are watching what's happening with the so-called left in South Africa at the moment, there's enough lingering potential coalition or coalescing of anti-Ramaphosa forces, especially with the succession politics now, being potentially triggered, leading to the NGC conference. But if none of these players perceive that they have a viable, political option, their agitations are not going to mount to anything significant. But also, we must bear in mind that President Cyril Ramaphosa has got a huge strategic responsibility when it comes to what happens to him and his legacy in the ANC. I think if he makes the right calculated political decisions, he just might do what you are asking. That is, going about the business of continuing to build, leveraging the support that he is getting from the veterans in the ANC. And part of that work includes reshaping the politics of the ANC away from this destructive generation of liberation fighters to creating a new path politically by taking some of these leaders that he has positioned now in strategic positions in cabinet to be the future of the leadership of the ANC. If he fails to do that, he's going to unfortunately watch his legacy of trying to rebuild go down the drain. And a critical part of that is to reform the electoral process of the ANC. There's no reason why they should continue this practice of sending captured people to an ANC conference for them to vote on behalf of the entire membership of the party, when in fact they have started processes that also engage communities. And some ANC leaders at a local level feel that those community-based processes are what saves the party when it comes to choosing the right leaders at a ward level, compared to the partisan process of using just branches to select leaders for the party.
Sure, there had been a lot of calls from in and out of the ANC that this decision be taken. So I guess we'll see what unfolds now that we now know this is a direction the party has decided to go. Dr. Ongama Mtimka, always a pleasure. Thanks very much indeed for your time and insights. Dr. Mtimka, of course, a political analyst, as we make sense of that decision from the ANC to expel a man who once led the party for so many years.